Today, we're doing a full map tour of Wake Forest, North Carolina. So if you're thinking about moving to the area and you're not exactly sure how everything connects, well, this video is going to answer all of your questions. All right, so I have pulled up Google Maps, and what we are looking at right now is the entire triangle. This is our metro here, made up of Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill. And the first thing you'll notice, of course, is that Raleigh has all these many suburbs. Durham and Chapel Hill don't really have a ton of suburbs, they just have neighborhoods, right? And so in terms of size, there are two very large suburbs in Raleigh, one being Wake Forest, and the second being Cary. Now, Cary is our largest suburb. It is also probably our most desirable suburb. The house prices are kind of high. It's very competitive still, even in a slower market. But Wake Forest is quietly becoming a massive relocation suburb for a lot of people, and new people moving out of state are choosing Wake Forest. We're gonna get into all those reasons throughout the video, but for right now, I just wanna set the scene with that. So kind of zooming in here, doesn't look massive, but when you actually click on it and look at the lines, you'll start to understand that there's a lot to Wake Forest, and so we're gonna help differentiate all the different parts so you can really see how it all fits in. Now, before we go deep, a few key things I want to point out. First of all, to the left of Wake Forest is the Falls Lake and State Recreation. So this is one of the largest natural lakes here in the triangle, and it's gonna keep Wake Forest nice, green, luscious, but also you're only 5-10 minutes away from the best boating, hiking, camping, biking, you name it, in the triangle, which is a big attraction feature for people relocating to Wake Forest. In terms of proximity to Raleigh, Wake Forest is one of the closest suburbs. It's only about 30 minutes to the heart of Wake Forest from the heart of downtown Raleigh, and you have two main ways to get there. So either way, you're gonna be taking 401 towards Wake Forest, and then you're gonna come to what I call the Y here. And at the Y, or the fork, you're going to have the option to go left onto Highway 1 or right onto Highway 401. So what's the difference? First, we have Highway 1, also known as Capitol Boulevard, and Capitol Boulevard goes through the Triangle Town Center. So in here, we're gonna have a bunch of businesses. If we zoom in, you're gonna have your Walmart, there's gonna be a Target, there's gonna be, gyms and hotels and Hobby Lobbies and an entire mall and all sorts of stuff, right? Panera Bread, I stop there quite often. When you get through that, then you're gonna be on the actual stretch of Capitol that goes through a lot of neighborhoods. It's gonna go through some businesses, and it's gonna take you all the way up to the heart of Wake Forest. Now, on a macro level, when you're driving through here, on your right is gonna be Wake Forest, on your left is still going to be Raleigh, and the way the property lines work, it's weird, it's confusing. I know it tripped me up for quite a while when I moved here. So you just kind of have to remember that. Now, as early as right down here, you could be pulling off right into some of the first Wake Forest neighborhoods. These are older neighborhoods, we'll look at them in a second, but you could also just easily go left and still be in Raleigh. So kind of weird. The main thing you need to know about Capitol, though, is that the traffic on Capitol is increasingly bad. And that's just, my opinion as a local, but a lot of people's opinions, to the point where they are actually going to be widening Capitol and adding a toll along the highway to help ease that congestion. And that congestion is, of course, a simple result of a lot of people moving into Wake Forest, way more than they ever expected would. And that is one reason that I really do love 401. So if you turn right at the Y there, and you keep going this way, you will pass through some neighborhoods, but it's gonna be a little bit more rural, a little bit more land. It will take you straight to Rolesville, and we'll touch on Rolesville later in the video, but that's almost like an extension right now of Wake Forest. They definitely kind of blend into each other, the way that the neighborhoods are set up, the fact that Rolesville doesn't really have much of a downtown compared to Wake Forest. But this is your best bet to avoid a lot of traffic and get to pretty much anywhere on this right half of Wake Forest. Now, these two roads are not only gonna take you to downtown Raleigh, they're also conveniently gonna take you to the rest of the triangle. So if we zoom out here, you'll see that they both lead to this road called 540. This is our interstate. We also call it the Outer Belt. It connects all the many suburbs throughout Raleigh, and they've been working really hard on extending it down here, connecting the rest of South Raleigh. So if you want to get from, say, Wake Forest all the way to Holly Springs, then you can do so on one convenient interstate. right? And the biggest thing is it's a straight shot from Wake Forest to Raleigh Durham International Airport, where all your flights are gonna be. And then right next door is this little text here, Research Triangle Park. Doesn't look like much, but that is actually one of the core, if not the core, business hubs here in our market, where all the high-paying jobs are in terms of research, tech, innovation, pharmaceutical, you name it, they're gonna be found right here. And a lot of those working professionals, they fly in and out all the time, and you may even be one of them. So if you have a daily commute into RTP, then you need to know that to get from here to here could be 30 minutes on the short end, and it could be 45 minutes plus on the long end. If you're on the south end of Wake Forest and you're taking Capital One, it might be closer to that 30-minute mark. If you're coming from North Wake Forest, it might be even longer. And sometimes being able to take 401 here to get to 540 is the quicker way to go, but no matter how you slice it, Wake Forest is not one of the closest suburbs to Research Triangle Park and does lean a lot more towards your hybrid workers, remote workers, or those who work in some of the other business hubs throughout the triangle. For example, here in North Raleigh, there's a lot of businesses. Downtown Raleigh does still have businesses, and plenty also work pretty much in Wake Forest or here in Northeast Raleigh, where we see some of our other business hubs as well. Okay, so now let's go deep on actual Wake Forest and figure out what all the different neighborhoods are, all the different places that people hang out at, so you can really get a good feel, now that we know how everything connects. So if we zoom in here to the very south end, it's the first thing you'd see when you're driving into Wake Forest, especially if you're taking Capitol Boulevard on the left here. You're going to see Sharon Farms, you're gonna see Cadell Woods, and you're gonna see Stone Gate at St. Andrews. So if you were to pull off right here onto Burlington Mills, one of the main roads here in Wake Forest, that's gonna connect you to all these different older neighborhoods. So they were built in the 90s and the 2000s, and they've got some pretty decent homes for some really great prices. You would be amazed by the price difference between Sharon Farms and, say, Riverside. The moment you cross into Wake Forest, prices do get cheaper. Sharon Farms, for example, has townhomes in the 2s, it has single families in the 3s and 4s, very, very affordable. Cadell Woods is another great neighborhood. It's got massive single-story homes that were built back in the early 2000s. I'm talking 3,000 to 4,000 square feet, and they're selling in the 400 range, which is just very impressive. So why don't we actually take you into that neighborhood so you can see what it actually looks like. Okay, so we're inside Cadell Woods on Street View here, and a few things that we're noticing. First of all, it looks very family friendly. It has very nice large homes with good curb appeal. It's got tall mature trees because it's an established neighborhood. People are already decking out for Halloween. This Google Maps was literally taken this month, so this is actually super, super accurate. We're noticing everyone has a 2-car garage. We've got 2-story homes, but we've also got some 3-story homes. So a lot of these homes were actually built on hills, just depending on how the lot worked. And so some of these homes, for example, are literally going to have close to that 4,000 square foot and still be under 500K, which is pretty impressive. So if you're wanting a lot of house with a decent lot size, like this one, for example, is on the corner. It has a pretty large lot. You could easily fence that in, and you still got lots of space. And if we look down in there, it's hard to tell, but they've got a full functioning basement with almost 1,000 square feet, finished by the builder. We can also see some of the townhomes here. So what you'll notice is you don't get a garage with these. They weren't making those very much back in the 90s, 2000s. And also this is definitely more of your affordable neighborhood, right? It's just about getting the most amount of house for the money. So these sell in the mid to upper 200s. So very, very affordable entry-level prices. You still get a good amount of square footage, and a lot of these are updated. You still get 2 dedicated parking spots. And of course, there's also a community pool that's gonna service the whole neighborhood with a little clubhouse, and a lot of the locals enjoy that for a low HOA of $27 a month for the single family homes and just over $100 a month for the townhomes. One thing that Cadell Woods has that a lot of the neighborhoods throughout Wake Forest is gonna have is access to the Greenway Trail. So you can see that this Greenway Trail right here is connecting to not only that neighborhood, but if we zoom out, it's connecting you to a bunch of different neighborhoods. So it's gonna take you down into these Raleigh neighborhoods. It also will allow you to shoot out across Capitol and over into all of this section here, which is also some Raleigh neighborhoods, but it'll also take you all the way north and connect you to a bunch of different neighborhoods. So we have a very great greenway trail system throughout the triangle. Wake Forest is no exception, and you could literally just be walking in your neighborhood, hop on the trail, walk along the Neuse River, and go to your buddy's house, which is 2 neighborhoods over, which I think is really, really cool. Okay, so that kind of covers this south portion here. There's, again, a cluster of neighborhoods all built in the last 20, 30 years, and prices are about the same. You're getting a lot of house for the money, and most of them are in very good condition and very family friendly, right? But there's also some great starter town homes for young professionals and singles. So as you continue to head north on Capitol, we start to get closer to some of the newer, more premium neighborhoods. First, we're gonna pull off left here into Wakefield Commons. And Wakefield Commons is technically within Raleigh. A lot of people refer to it as a Wake Forest neighborhood. But here we're gonna find the closest movie theater. We're gonna find some restaurants like your Moe's, pizza place, banks, kind of your random stuff, right? So this is your first real shopping center that we've seen as we're heading towards Wake Forest. But there's a lot more, because if you actually take right onto Alt 1, which is kind of a sub road of Capitol Boulevard, it's the alternative Capitol Boulevard, then we're going through kind of like old downtown Wake Forest, right? So this isn't the downtown Wake Forest, but it is part of Main Street, and there's a lot of stuff happening there. So it's not gonna be anything flashy or shiny, right? And I would say downtown Wake Forest is definitely the best bet for, kind of more of your coffee shops and that kind of stuff. But when we're looking in here, we're finding escape rooms. The Wake Forest Police Station is going to be in here. You got your Irish pub. You've got your Aldi's, where I personally do my shopping a lot of the time. You're also going to find that there's going to be a Mellow Mushroom. You got a few dealerships in there as well, Sonic, a bunch of stuff, a real hodgepodge in here. And just to kind of show you what that looks like, we'll grab a quick street view right in here. So this road right in front of me is going to be Main Street, and it's going to take you all the way to downtown, right? And right across the street, we'll look at it when we get back on maps, but that is where the local middle school is as well. So pretty convenient. Across from me is one of the shopping centers. It's gonna have your First Watch, it's gonna have your Dunkin' Donuts and a few other restaurants, and again, your local Walmart, and everything else is going to be off this main strip. So we are on South Main Street. This is what would take us all the way into actual downtown Wake Forest. On our left, we have plenty of stuff, like we have our Aldi's, we have our Walmart, bunch of random places, right? Some thrift stores. And if we just keep going north, we're gonna see some restaurants and some, Wendy's and whatnot on our right. There's gonna be plenty of businesses. On our left was that Irish pub that we pointed out on the maps. And then we even have an alpaca back there, which if you haven't had is definitely a favorite here in the triangle. They've got some really good food. We keep going here, we'll see pharmacies, gas stations, again, all of your basics, right? Now on this block right here, you're gonna have a bunch of random stuff, but that's also where the Wake Forest Police Station is gonna be. So random, I know. There's also an Alchemy bar there, which is pretty cool. If we keep going down Main Street, we're gonna see this building over here on the right. And at first it doesn't look like much. You probably are wondering what the gears are for, and I'm gonna throw up some footage, but this is what we call the factory, and it's actually a really cool place. And if we pull up maps here, you're going to see just how many things they've got going on at the factory. This is the place to be in Wake Forest. It's super family friendly, but it's also got bar, it's got hockey, it's got laser tag, it's got restaurants, it's got game theory, it's got so many things, and it's like this giant shopping mall where you can go inside and there's a bunch of different businesses ranging from stuff for kids to families to singles to everything in between. And this is a place that gets kind of popping, definitely on evenings and weekends. Now, eventually, you're going to hit a point on Main Street where to your left is going to be the local middle school. Wake Forest schools are highly regarded, and this one's no exception. A lot of people send their kids here. On the other side of the street, you're gonna have some newer businesses. So for example, you're going to have First Watch, which is an elite breakfast place. I love going there. You're gonna have a Planet Smoothie, a Witch Witch. You're gonna have a Dunkin' Donuts further along this road. And this is one of those main roads that's gonna connect you to a bunch of other parts of Wake Forest. Or we keep going straight down this road and it's gonna lead us through some of the historic homes in Wake Forest and into actual downtown. So that was this section here. And again, it's one of the better shopping areas throughout Wake Forest, but there are some really nice new developments that we're gonna be exploring as well that I think you're probably gonna like even more. For example, if we keep heading north on Capital One, getting even closer to downtown Wake Forest, you're gonna be passing not only that Walmart that we looked at, but you're gonna also be passing a Sam's Club, and there's gonna be a Texas Roadhouse, a Chili's, a Red Robin Gourmet Burgers, which is a really great restaurant. Love going to Red Robin, yum, right? And finally, we're gonna be up here. This is the Capitol Plaza, and so they are going to have really everything. And this is where I think I go for most of my stuff, other than Aldi's. So they're gonna have Carolina Ale House, they're gonna have Panera Bread, they're gonna have a brand new cookout that they just built. And then if we go north, they're gonna have Freddy's Frozen Custard, it's gonna have Chick-fil-A, Krispy Kreme, a bunch of businesses like a Buffalo Brothers, which is a great place to get burgers or pizza. They're gonna have frozen custard, they're gonna have Starbucks, literally so many restaurants all within, one road, Retail Drive. You keep going, of course, you're gonna have your PetSmart Staples, a bunch of random businesses. You're gonna have your Home Depot where I go for all my house projects, which there's always house projects, right? And then finally, you're gonna have your Target. This is a super Target, so you have plenty of shopping and everything in between. I will take you into kind of the heart of Retail Drive on Street View here so you can see what it really looks like. So here we've got our Chick-fil-A. Across the street, you got your Buffalo Brothers right there. You got AT&T. If we keep going this way, you're gonna see all those businesses we just talked about. So your Starbucks, you're gonna see, Freddy's and Firehouse Subs and Chipotle. So all the necessities, right? And if we go up to this light right here, that's where we see the brand new cookout over here. And that Panera Bread we talked about was over here. And so when you're at this light, you can turn left, you can get back onto Capitol, or if we go right, and I'll show you this here on the map, if we go right, you're actually going to be able to go all the way into Durham. If you take this road here and go right, you're actually going to be on 98, a highway that will take you all the way across Falls Lake and all the way into Durham. So this is your straight shot, 30-minute drive, very little traffic to get all the way to the other side of the triangle into the heart of Durham pretty dang quickly. And it's a lot more convenient than, say, dropping down Capitol, taking 540, and then going up 70 to do the exact same thing. So this is a super convenient spot, which I use all the time to get to Durham. And of course, it's right by all the shopping and everything else. Now, if we turn left here and we actually cross Capitol into this section over here, we're gonna find ourselves at a brand new shopping center called Grove 98. Grove 98 is one of the newest shopping developments here in the Triangle, and it's got a big Wegmans, it's got a bunch of new businesses, restaurants, gym, and it's going to have new townhomes. And we're gonna throw up some drone footage from the time that we went out there and toured it pretty recently. But they've got your Cava, they've got Dave's Hot Chicken and Five Guys, O2 Fitness. One of the biggest Wegmans I've ever seen is located here as well. And we'll just show you on Street View as well. All the businesses and all the retail, all the residential that they are building. Some of these are 4 stories tall with a balcony on top. So they're building some really nice townhomes here in this development right across from just this massive Wegmans, which has sushi bar, burger bar, and a bunch of other stuff, a cafe, coffee, everything you want. You've got a Chase Bank here, and if we come to the intersection, you can see just how nice this is. So they've got all these brand new kind of modern looking restaurants and apartments and a dental and Torchy's Tacos. And it's just all very convenient to where you could live here in Grove 98. You could maybe even work here, and you could get all your shopping and your restaurants all taken care of in one convenient hub. Pretty cool. So now we have explored kind of the Capitol Shopping Center. We've explored Grove 98 over here, and we've even explored this section down here, which is going to be kind of your South Main Street before you get into actual downtown, right? So we've explored those three areas. And so the first kind of cluster of neighborhoods we're going to see moving further north into Wake Forest is going to be Pemberley is a very popular one, Forestville, and Holding Village. And Holding Village is probably one of the more unique neighborhoods that we have in Wake Forest. I'll throw up a shot of the silos that they have at the heart of the neighborhood. They also have a giant pond and plenty of parks for all the locals, and it's got townhomes, single families, it's got bungalow style homes and apartments. So pretty much everything, right? It's connected to the Greenway, and it's got homes in the fours, it's got townhomes in the threes. It's got some pretty affordable brand new construction, all built within the last few years. This is one of the top new neighborhoods in Wake Forest, and if you zoom out here, it is just south of downtown, super central to Wake Forest. I know a lot of people and clients who are buying in Holding Village. If we drop into Pemberley, this is an existing neighborhood, so not quite as new, but still gonna be featured on some of the top lists of neighborhoods in Wake Forest. So these homes sell in the 5s and 6s. They're considered a little bit more premium. It's a very tight-knit community. And as you can, kind of drive around, walk around, you'll notice some of these, again, have 3 stories. A lot of these homes, have, nice gated in lots, and they're gonna have really good curb appeal. Just kind of driving around, you can see that these homes are really well taken care of. You still have very mature trees, and you have some really good distance between the houses. Like, look at the distance between these 2 houses here. Look at this nice corner lot that this house has. You'll start to understand why so many people love Pemberley among all the neighborhoods here in Wake Forest. And of course, they've got the nice clubhouse, they've got the pool, they've got the park over here with the playground, and they're gonna have plenty of trails throughout the neighborhood. Pemberley is just one of those really nice neighborhoods that's very nice to live in. Now that we've checked out Pemberley and Holding Village, I think we have to pop over into Heritage. And I'm gonna preface this with saying that Heritage is probably the top neighborhood in Wake Forest. And I'm not talking about luxury, high-end, multi-million-dollar homes. I'm talking about the most popular as far as people love being there. And not just for the houses, but for the actual community and everything that comes with it. So let's spend some time here on Heritage. It is very central to Wake Forest and very important to Wake Forest. And so what you're gonna find is that there's of course multiple neighborhoods that make up Heritage. You have actual Heritage, Heritage North, you're gonna have Heritage Reserve, Heritage Spring, and so these are going to make up the ultra subdivision of Heritage. And so what you have is you have a lot of different neighborhoods all surrounding the Heritage Golf Course. And if we open up this bad boy, turn on Street View, there's a nice little photo. We've got the clubhouse right here, and we already see people off here golfing. Try to get you guys a little bit better view. I know we have some footage of this golf course that we're gonna be throwing up as well, just so you can really see what the Heritage Golf Course looks like. But you can already see it's very beautiful, plenty of green, you've got a huge pond, and there's all sorts of people out there doing their thing, golfing. And what's nice is you have all these communities that are just surrounding this golf course. So if you want homes on the golf course for $700,000-800,000, you can find that here. If you want a home that's pretty close to a golf course and has great amenities for $500,000, you're gonna find that here in Heritage. And yes, they have townhomes and all that kind of stuff. And it's a very active community, so you're gonna find that they have the Smith Creek Park and the Smith Creek Soccer Center. Soccer's really big here in the Triangle. It has the Greenway Elementary School right over here and the middle school, some of the best schools by rankings here in the Triangle. And if we were to drop ourselves into this cluster right here of Chick-fil-A, Jersey Mike's, We got some shopping going on. We're gonna see a very nice shopping development. So we've got, you know, a little pond for aesthetics over here. Got lots of trees. I think I dropped us over here in a bank, so let me get us a little bit better view. Let's go right here. So this is just one of the newer kind of shopping stints that have come up. So as you can see, very new buildings. We've got a ramen place / sushi. We've got daycare. If we go in there, I know there's a really nice coffee place that I've heard great things about. It doesn't look like Street View actually has a way in yet. So let's see if we can wrap around the other side. We got Oak Roast Coffee right there. We got Wayback Burgers. We've got Cape Fear, and they've got a lot of furniture. We've got Chow House. We got, let's see what else we got. We got MedFirst, a little bit of urgent care. So it's kind of, again, a hodgepodge, but like nicer businesses, little bit higher end, more bougie businesses, all brand new in this shopping development. Across the street, we're gonna have a bunch of baseball fields. A lot of these are, of course, hosted by Wakefield Middle and High. You're gonna see plenty of people walking on the trails. And when we actually go further down here, keep going straight from there, this is where we're gonna find a Publix. So anytime you have a Publix, you're gonna find some nice businesses. There's gonna be a lot to do. That's where we find our Chick-fil-A. We've got a Cold Stone Creamery. And there it is. There is your Publix and all sorts of other restaurants. Rudino's, they have some really great pizza. There's a Rudino's with a rooftop bar in Raleigh. I don't think this one has the rooftop part. But this shopping center has a lot to offer. And kind of the point that I'm driving here is if you live in Heritage, you do have some really great schools and really great options for things to do right at your feet. Now I'll take you into one of the neighborhoods. Let's take you into Heritage Reserve. And if we look at the houses, you can see they've got some flair. Like this one with the 2-car garage and the side load right there. We got some brick exteriors, which we don't see as much brick here in the triangle, and when we do, it's usually a high-end home. We've got literal golf course right behind this house here. And just look at the way that the lawn is even mowed. And you know, as we continue down this street, I don't know why it jumped so far, but we've got large lots. You know, we've got really massive looking homes with long extended driveways. We've got 3-car garage right there, kind of a little bit more of a older looking style home, but all of these were built within the last 10, 15 years. Like this one with the wraparound porch, it's got the basketball goal. These are some really nice homes, and people who buy into Heritage, they tend to stay in Heritage. And of course, as you're driving around, you're going to see the golf course right there, and look at those homes on the golf course. Pretty cool. I might be a little afraid of getting hit by a ball or something, but people love Heritage for that reason. And one thing I really like about Heritage is that the homes aren't cookie cutter. Like this one, it has a second balcony. I think that's really cool. I haven't seen that on a lot of the homes here. And then this one is definitely more your traditional looking house. It looks really cool the way it's actually facing the corner and kind of has a side load garage, unlike a lot of the other houses here. And then this one, it has a completely different look to it. So they're all very different. And that's definitely a big appeal for people looking at moving to the area. Now we are in the southeast side of Wake Forest. And this is where I said you could take 401 Louisburg up towards Rolesville and find yourself on the east side of Wake Forest. This is where I'm talking about. And when you see Austin Creek, you see Jones Dairy Farm, Averitt Ridge, Averitt Farms, Bishop's Grant. These are all new construction communities or built within the last 5 years max. And so this east side of Wake Forest is what I like to commonly call the new construction corridor. This is where the most new construction is going right now to date. It's where you can find semi-affordable homes, large homes, decent lots by some of the top builders in the area. By the way, if you're wondering who the top builders are in the area, we made a video ranking them all the way from the worst to the absolute best. Make sure you watch that video. I will link it in the description for you to watch at the end of this one. So I'm going to take you into one or two of those new construction communities so you can kind of see what they're building and what the prices are going for. So if we zoom in on kind of this cluster here, you'll see Jones Dairy Farm. And so one of the more recent developments is this KB Home Preserve at Jones Dairy. And right across the street, they're also building a whole new development in here. Not sure why it's not showing up on maps, but it is on the newer side of things. And so we've got footage of both of them. I'll be overlaying that here on the video so you can kind of see it. But also just dropping into Street View here. Here are some of the homes that they're building literally right now, several of which we've sold to you guys watching the videos. A lot of relocators coming in. Shout out to Deep, who moved from Ohio and actually purchased one of the homes on this development just by watching one of the videos here. All right, so taking a look at the houses, here is what we are noticing. For one, they have 2 stories. They also have some ranch plans. So if we kind of look at this guy right here, we're seeing more and more builders try to add in ranch plans as we're even getting retirees moving into Wake Forest. But the biggest thing is Wake Forest is becoming kind of a melting hub, right? You're getting families, singles, working professionals, retirees, all the above for so many different reasons. As we kind of go down the street here, you can see just the different types of houses that they're building. Now, obviously, the elephant in the room is new construction in general across America is looking a little bit more basic, right? Unless you're in the high luxury custom price point, which this isn't. We're talking about 400s, 500s in this neighborhood for 3,000 square foot homes. That's pretty impressive. And they're building them at a really fast rate, and yet they're selling really quickly because a lot of people are moving here. So they do have different color schemes. They have 2-story versus 1. You know, a lot of these are going to be on your crawl space. You can tell from the elevated base there, which means these houses just look a little bit taller. I like the look of it. I'm a big fan of crawl space. But other things that we're noticing is a lot of these houses are coming with screen-in porches as an add-on. KB Home does allow you to customize these houses, so you are getting a fair amount of design features that you can choose from when you're building one of these homes. And overall, I can tell you from experience, it's a quiet neighborhood. The houses are built with pretty decent quality, and there's just a lot of options. And some of these look really cool. Like looking at this house right here, it almost looks like it's on stilts, but it's nice and grand, super tall. So they've got some different options throughout the neighborhood. This is a view of the neighborhood from the front. There's the sign saying Preserve of Jones Dairy, and they are basically wrapped up. They've got maybe 1 or 2 homes left for sale in this neighborhood, but like I mentioned, right across the street, we have D.R. Horton selling Presley, and we just covered that pretty recently. So they've got a bunch of townhomes in the 2s and 3s, and then they've got some single families that they're building in the similar price range of 4s and 5s, and look at how much land they still have left. When we go in here, you're gonna be impressed because they've got these 2 model homes right here, kind of showing you the 1 story versus the 2. And then you look out here and you see nothing but land. And this is very up to date. They have so much land left to build. This community is maybe 1/3 of the way finished, if that. And so there's a lot of houses that are going to be built here in the Wake Forest area. Affordable price range. You still get a clubhouse. You still get walking trails. You still get your pool right here. And right now, not a lot of people using the pool because there's not that many houses built here yet. So this is one of the many new construction neighborhoods, well, 2 of the new construction neighborhoods that are being built over in this corridor right here. Gives you a good idea of where your money could go. For reference, that same $450,000 at KB Home Preserve in North Raleigh gets you a home that was built in the 70s, needs a little bit of updates, and it's probably only about 2,000 square foot. So the money goes so much further in Wake Forest, whether we're dealing new construction or even trying to put that towards an even larger house that's maybe 20 or 30 years old like we saw down here over by Stonegate and Cadell Woods. Another thing I want to point out is they are building all these communities in here, and that's all pretty recent. If you look to the right, we're still in Wake Forest and we've got so much more land. The problem here is that, like, read this, Hope Farm. What do you think that is? That's a farm, a lot of land owned by one individual. So what happened over here at like Jones Dairy, for example, this was a massive farm that somebody eventually sold off to developers. The developers sell it to builders, and then that's where we get our homes from, right? And so Jones Dairy was massive because we have Drees Homes at Meadow way up here, right? And then we have these guys way down here. So that means somebody owned farmland across this entire section of Wake Forest, which is, I mean, even if you zoom out, that's a huge chunk of Wake Forest that was owned by one individual. And so what we're finding is, even though Wake Forest lines, if we click on it again, cover all up here, all over here, all down here, there's still a lot of land left to be built on that developers are still trying to buy off from people. And then we start, of course, running into the Franklin County line that runs right along here. So Youngsville, for example, is a suburb that is north of us that a lot of people associate with the triangle, but it's not actually a part of Wake County. It's in its own separate county, Franklin County, and it's gonna cover that little bubble up there. If you're wondering what is all this right here, well, it's a hodgepodge of different places, right? We have Rolesville, which actually is going to cover directly east of the new communities that we just looked at. So it's actually deceptively large, and yet the development within Rolesville is deceptively small. There's not a lot going on there yet, but they are starting to build more and more new communities in Rolesville. Again, I'm telling you, it feels like you're in Wake Forest, but if they start building KB Home Preserve and they start building all these other places, they're borderline Wake Forest. Some of them are even in Rolesville and Rolesville ISD. So something to keep in mind. But Rolesville and Wake Forest actually share schools, by the way. So some schools service both. So that's one thing to also be understanding of. But it is kind of interesting when you look at the property lines. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's really spread out. And I'm sure as Wake Forest grows, we're gonna see that the property lines between the two actually change and modify, and schools will even get changed. But I think one thing to know is they're both within Wake County schools, and they're both really great suburbs. So just wanted to touch on that. And while I'm on the topic of Rolesville, I did want to point out this guy keeps popping up on the map. This is Fantasy Lake Adventure Park. I'm gonna throw a quick video up on the screen, but this is a man-made reservoir. It is a super cool water park that is available to everyone in the triangle, but a quick access to those in Wake Forest. And it is going to have man-made beaches, it's going to have cliff diving, it's going to have snorkeling and scuba diving, it's going to have a bunch of inflatables and so many other really cool things that you're going to definitely want to check this place out if you move to Wake Forest. I mean, look at this. They've got pickleball courts, they've got beach chairs, they've got a just massive inflatable course right here. I know they have volleyball and all sorts of other stuff. And when we look at the size of this reservoir, it's truly impressive. And they just built this within the last year, so this is still relatively new to our area, and not enough people have actually gone and checked this out. I cannot recommend it enough. Okay, moving further north, again, getting closer and closer to downtown Wake Forest, we're gonna find ourselves over in this kind of east to northeast section of Wake Forest. So a few things to point out. First of all, we have Lennar at Rosedale. Again, one of the more popular new communities that's being built. Lennar is going to have the best prices. They're the biggest tract builder, so they're going to build your townhomes, but they're also going to be building your single family homes. Here's a picture of what the community center is going to look like, and they have decent quality. I mean, it's definitely a spec builder, meaning they choose everything, and it's going to be more your run-of-the-mill quality, but it's going to be some great prices, and it's needed housing that we don't have in Wake Forest. So that's one of the communities popping up. But as we get even closer, we're starting to see downtown even zoomed in here. A few things I want to point out. First of all, we have the Wake Forest Reservoir. So this is beautiful. It's got great trails. You can go kayaking, and there's a lot of luxury, custom built homes right off the reservoir with direct access. These are large homes, very new, very luxurious. Walking through the neighborhood or driving through it, you're going to be like, wow, I wish I could afford one of those. Or maybe you can, and this might be an area that we look at. Just look at the landscaping. So they've got some really good homes here, and again, looking in the bottom left, you have direct access to that reservoir. So very cool. And looking at some of the photos here, it's very pretty. They've got some great trails. During this time of the year, the leaves are starting to change colors, so it's always a great time, and it's right near downtown. Now, looking just south of the reservoir, one area I had to, of course, point out is Gateway Commons. This is another pretty popular shopping center. It's on the smaller side, but there's some really good businesses and apartments in the area. You have your Lowe's Foods, Farm Table is one of the top restaurants in Wake Forest as well, and that's where this is located. You're gonna have your basics like your Taco Bell, you're gonna have dentistry and storage, you're gonna have the Kiddie Academy of Wake Forest, which has some pretty good reviews. You've also got a doggy daycare in here as well somewhere, pet care and animal hospital. So a lot of little businesses in here, and really what this little shopping center here is serving is it's actually serving everyone who lives not only off of these neighborhoods here, right, with the luxury homes we just looked at, but on the other side of the reservoir, we're going to have Traditions. Traditions is one of the newer neighborhoods that has been built, and it's got a mix, right? So if you were to go close to the reservoir, you actually have much better amenities here at Traditions than you do at other neighborhoods. They already started decorating for Christmas on their clubhouse, and it's actually a kind of clubhouse where you would actually go and hang out or have a birthday party or something like that. And so they've got different types of housing. So for example, they've actually got townhomes with rear load, 2-car garage, and they're selling these typically in the 400s. So a little bit premium price for townhomes. Some of them are in 300s, but they're very nice and very new. If we go to the other side of kind of the amenities section is where we're gonna see a lot of our single family. And so just to show you what some of these look like, they're still very nice. They're selling in the 6s, some in the 5s, and you still get your 2-car garage. A little bit smaller, more like 2,500 square feet on most of these. So a little bit more compact, but they've got some really nice houses. So it's just a very nice established neighborhood. And one thing that I want to point out is not only do you have access to the reservoir and some nearby shopping, you have a creek that runs behind the neighborhood with a greenway trail, of course, and moving a little bit further north into the neighborhood, we have some ongoing new construction. So for example, Lennar at Willows at Traditions is building some new townhomes. Some of them were actually featured in the recent Parade of Homes. If you don't know what that is, they actually look at a lot of the top builders in the Triangle and they showcase them. Over 150 homes, a lot of builders are showcasing some of the best products that they've created, and everyone in the Triangle gets to go and tour them for about a month. So we just wrapped that up, and some of these were actually featured in it. Why? They make decent homes, good prices, and on these specifically, they're 3 stories, plus they have basements, which I have not seen a new townhome with a basement here in the Triangle in a long, long time. So they're actually innovating and creating new and unique products here at Traditions, which I just thought was super, super interesting and a nice little way to build something that's just a touch above and get a little bit more space to families who need it. And speaking of families, if we were to go look a little bit more north, we see the Envision Science Academy. Showing you some of the photos here. Doesn't look like anything crazy, but this is one of the top private schools, K through 12, here in the Triangle, and it is walking distance for everybody who lives in Traditions and the surrounding neighborhoods. And so this gets very, very popular all times of day, all the kids running around, and it's just really well regarded. Over here, as we keep going, we also have a lot of new apartments that are being built, and there's other types of housing here as well. So we have kind of these 3-story townhomes with your 2-car garage, more of your basic builds. We're seeing a lot of those. And then we even have some really nice apartment buildings that are being built as well. So if you want a brand new apartment that's right across from schools and it's walking distance to downtown Wake Forest on a beautiful road with lots of walking trails and connecting to other existing neighborhoods, then you're gonna find it over here near Traditions. As you guys can tell, I'm leaving downtown Wake Forest for the end of the video, so we'll be getting there shortly. But the first thing you're gonna kind of see as we leave Traditions is you're gonna see Flaherty Farms. So this is not only an existing neighborhood, again, it's gonna be on lists of top neighborhoods in the Triangle. You're gonna find the Franklin Academy High School there, which is highly regarded as well. But the biggest thing I wanted to point out was this giant green blob that is Flaherty Park. And if you were looking at it the first time, you're probably thinking, how in the world do I pronounce that? I think I'm pronouncing it right. I go there all the time, so I hope that I would be able to. But it is a great place to go. It's got a dog park. Show you a few photos here. Nothing crazy, but just a wide open, very large landscape, lots of trees and leaves. And there's always people there all times of the day. How cute. But it's also got an actual park with both tennis and pickleball. So there's always people there all times of the day. In addition to having pickleball and tennis, they also have a really cool kind of gym setup where you can do calisthenics and you can do pull-ups and all sorts of fun stuff. And of course, they've also got a really nice community center and some walking trails. And all of this that you see in here is baseball fields. So they've got baseball games going on all day long. They've got, I think, 4 fields in total, and there's always games going on. There's always people here and families, kids running around. This is definitely one of the top 2 parks. We'll be checking out the other top park in Wake Forest here in a little bit, but you definitely need to check out Flaherty Park if you're in the area. All right, so I've re-highlighted the boundary lines for Wake Forest so you can understand where we are. We just saw Flaherty Park in here, and this is the farthest northeast that you can get. So going north of downtown Wake Forest, this is just before we hit that county line and go into Franklin County and into Youngsville territory. And if you live up here in North Wake Forest, you are going to be easily an hour with any traffic from RTP and the airport. You're going to be about 45 minutes from downtown Raleigh, and yes, you are most likely going to be taking Capitol Boulevard and dealing with Capitol Boulevard traffic in your daily commute. Now, the reason to come to North Wake Forest and the reason people move to Youngsville is prices are great, lots are larger. That's the simplest way I can put it to you. You get more space, you get more bang for your buck. And so a lot of these neighborhoods here, they aren't new construction, they're older neighborhoods, right? But you can still find some really large houses in the 4s and 5s, and some older homes that you can find even in the 2s and 3s. Plenty of older established neighborhoods up in this north section here, and as soon as you cross into Youngsville, prices drop even more. And there is a lot of new construction neighborhoods happening on this border here and over near the heart of Youngsville. We're not going to touch on that in today's video. Just know that they're there, and that if you're already looking at Wake Forest and you're okay with that drive, you might want to consider going just a little bit further and getting into some of the affordable new construction that Youngsville offers. Now, so from Flaherty Park, we're going to keep going left here, and we're going to hit the next park that I wanted to touch on, which is going to be Joyner Park. And this is probably the #1 park in all of Wake Forest for many reasons. 1, it's the largest. 2, it's got some really great amenities. For example, just looking at this playground here, you already know that looks like a fun time. But moving along, it's got some history, some old barns and stuff dating back to 1800s, which just is really cool, historical piece. It's got some amazing trails with some really beautiful ponds, a lot of artwork, and it's even got a community center with a full basketball court. So that's a big one, right? So this is an actual community center. This is really a great place for full activities. It's a great place to watch the sunset or the sunrise. Again, go for walks, enjoy a pond, the view. And they've got, of course, plenty of sports. So taking an aerial view here, you see, all the land that you have to run around on. You see the playground right in there and the community center. It's all very, very nice and was recently redeveloped, right? So they've been pouring a lot of money into this center. Now, the one thing that Joyner Park doesn't have as well as the other park we just looked at is it doesn't have like the outdoor gym. It doesn't have the pickleball courts, for example. And so this park leans a little bit more towards space, playground, and of course the basketball gym. So they just offer different features. I still would say that Joyner Park is probably my favorite to take a walk at and go around. I think the emphasis at Flaherty Park is definitely going to be more towards like baseball, for example, a lot of games, and then yes, your pickleball. So they just offer very different things. But I think you should check out both when you're in the area, and understanding where they are in relation to the neighborhoods, in relation to Wake Forest is important. Okay, now the last section we're going to hit before we hit downtown Wake Forest is this left stretch right here. So we've already checked out this area in here, which has all your restaurants and your Target and everything. If you keep going north on Capitol, you're gonna hit some micro developments as well. So for example, in here, Briggs at the Forest Restaurant, great for breakfast, absolutely love them. They've got a few throughout the triangle. You've got some kind of random businesses in here. You have the Market of Wake Forest for a little bit of shopping. And then you have, cafes and Habitat for Humanity, which is a place I go to often. So kind of random stuff off in here, a little bit of hotels too. And if we keep going up the road, then on your right, there's gonna be yet another shopping development, just literally a minute down the road with an Olive Garden. This is called Wake Forest Crossing. So it's got Kohl's and TJ Maxx, it's got Lowe's Foods, a really great Mexican restaurant, Sonic, a bunch of random stuff. So you're really never driving more than a few minutes without things to do and places to spend money. And it's actually a pretty nice shopping center. When you pull in, you're gonna notice that there's a lot going on. It's very busy. You know, they do have like your Michaels, they've got your Sephora and your Kohl's, restaurants, and pretty much everything else that you're kind of looking for. There's usually a lot of things going on over here. Okay, I think we are finally ready to explore the actual heart of Wake Forest. We've covered all the surrounding areas, so you already know so much more than pretty much everyone else, even people who probably live in Wake Forest. Seriously. So great job. Let's keep going. So this pretty much circle right here is going to be the heart of Wake Forest. This is the OG. This is where it all started. It also used to be the home to Wake Forest University. People get confused because now that it was relocated to Greensboro some time ago, but that is originally what was kind of the heart of Wake Forest. Now it's repositioned and it's known for a lot of other things, right? But where you see the text right here, that is the downtown strip. And if you remember, we were on South Main Street. If you remember South Main Street, that was this road right here. And if you kept following it, crossed over 98, that road that takes you to Durham or over to all the new construction, you keep going, you're finally gonna find yourself in downtown. So this is North White Street, and that is actually the main street here that is going to take you through downtown. And the yellow that you're seeing right here, that's pretty much it. So it's not massive. I want to preface with that. So what's going on with the surrounding area first? Well, one thing about the triangle is we have golf courses everywhere. So if we zoom out, there's one in Wakefield. Of course, Heritage has one. And yes, there's one up here. Almost walking distance from downtown Wake Forest. Kind of just off the main strip is a giant building. When you're driving around, you're gonna see it, and that is the Southeastern Baptist University. And it's actually a really beautiful campus, lots of buildings, and it's very widespread, so you literally can't not notice it when you're driving around. And what I really love about this area is it's got some of the most historic, coolest looking houses surrounding it. A lot of these, of course, are gonna be protected so that they can't be torn down or majorly renovated. And as you start to drive through some of these neighborhoods, you're going to see just the character and the history on these houses. For example, look at this one right here. You can just tell by looking at this thing that it was built in the 1800s, and it's still here in Wake Forest. You can drive at any time and go view some of these houses. And let me tell you a secret, during Halloween, it is really cool looking at some of these houses, and a lot of them are putting up really neat decorations. You'll see a lot of houses like this one right here, which are taking full advantage of the fact that they have historic homes and really decorating them up for Halloween. They also look really cool during Christmas time as well. But yeah, just driving around this area, you're gonna see some of the neatest homes that have withheld the test of time, and they're still in such nice, great condition. So people are really proud of their historic homes here near Wake Forest. We even have the Wake Forest Historical Museum, so they're really taking pride in that history, and that's something that they're gonna really try to preserve as they continue to build out Wake Forest so that they don't lose touch with its history. All right, so that was the Baptist Seminary and some of the historical homes here. All we really have left to explore is downtown. So 2 things I wanna look at. First of all, we have the Wake Forest Farmers Market at the southeast portion of downtown. Very cool. Every Saturday, they're gonna be out there doing their farmers market, selling their goods. It's always a great time. If you don't know, Raleigh has the state farmers market. So if you're looking for a massive market, top of the line, that's gonna be in downtown Raleigh. But Wake Forest couldn't help but have its own. So here's the hours, here's the dates that they tend to do it. And they've got all sorts of local produce. They put on music. It's really a fun time, and it's walking distance from downtown, so you can stop there if you're already in the area. All right, I think it's time that we use Street View and actually walk through Wake Forest. So there's the seminary that we just checked out a little bit ago. You can see the sign for downtown Wake Forest. Then we go under this kind of cool historic looking bridge. And as soon as we cross through there, we're gonna start seeing businesses. For example, the Nourish Fitness Wellness Community right there. If we turn left, we're gonna see all the new townhomes and apartments that they're building as they grow out Wake Forest. We're gonna see other businesses back in here. If we go down the road here, we're actually going to see new restaurants, new bars. This is gonna be a rooftop bar that they're building here in Wake Forest. And there's some really cool businesses kind of just off the main strip too. Doc's Garage is a very historic garage. It's actually a garage where they work on your car, but I just always thought it looked really cool. And if we keep going a little bit north here, we have the Norse Brewing Company. This is a Viking themed bar, so if you want a little bit of nightlife in Wake Forest, this is a pretty cool option. Wake Forest isn't known for its nightlife really at all, but they do have a few cool things and they're adding to it as time goes on. And now we are in downtown Wake Forest. You can already start to see the character. You're gonna see a bunch of people out walking, and it doesn't matter what time of day it is. We tried to go tour this when it was like 9 a.m. We thought not a lot of people would be there, and everyone was there. We've gone at 2, and people are still there. And so what you're seeing is a lot of local businesses. For example, the Wake Forest Coffee Company. This is a great place to grab a cup of coffee. It's affordable, great environment, and always packed. They've got 2 stories, so there's plenty of room though, and they've got a lot of outdoor seating. If we just keep walking down this strip, we're gonna see all sorts of stuff. We're gonna see real estate offices, we're gonna see Domino's, we're gonna see boutiques left and right. And that's one thing you're gonna love about downtown Wake Forest is pretty much everything here is local boutique. You're not gonna see a lot of chains. You know, we did have our Domino's, but we got Las Margaritas Mexican restaurant. You know, one-off businesses that you can go and support a local business. Here and here we got a bodega down kind of at the north side of the strip. We've got a beer, wine, yoga, and rooftop joint right here. They're trying to do a lot of things at once, but it's working because they're always busy whenever I go by them. You've got, you know, stores with all sorts of souvenirs and specialty items. As we keep going here, we've got other businesses like the Tonic Bar right here. It's a social club, so that gets most active at night. Again, they're trying to add more nightlife items to Wake Forest. We've got dance clubs. We've got the Wake Forest Academy of Fine Arts. We've got other boutiques in the area. We've got Shorty's Famous Hot Dogs, which is pretty popular here in the Triangle. And then right next door, we have the White Street Brewing Company. And again, these businesses, when you're walking by them, you can actually zoom in on their placards, and I don't think you can read that, but some of these businesses were literally started 100 years ago. The buildings are over 100 years old. Like the Chevrolet building here just has so much history, and it's so cool to walk the streets, see all the people, and then kind of read about how long these businesses have been here in these buildings. For example, the B&W Hardware right here is basically the Home Depot of 100 years ago, and they're still operating and in business. And so it's pretty cool to see the history here and see how some of these businesses have withstood the test of time, and just see all the history and culture that has somehow been preserved here in downtown Wake Forest. And we pretty much just walked the strip. It's not very long. There is a good mix of businesses there, and you can have a real fun time there. You could, go there every weekend and still not get too bored. But just looking on the map, we know that it's nowhere near the size of downtown Raleigh. But I do believe that to a certain extent, it's not about the size, it's about the quality. And downtown Wake Forest is just fun. It's cool, it's nice and clean, and it's always a great time. And with that, we just toured the entire suburb of Wake Forest. I know it was a long stretch and you might need to watch the video a few times to soak it all in. But if you're thinking about moving to Wake Forest, or you want to learn more about the other communities, the other neighborhoods throughout the Triangle, then call or text the number at the bottom of the screen when you're ready, or just click that link in the description, set up a time to chat with me and my team. If you want to see a full map tour where I literally toured all of Raleigh and its suburbs, then you're gonna want to watch this video next. I'm Benjamin, and I'll see you there.